How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good to hear.
If you guys have any questions for Coach, go ahead and raise your hands now. Let's start with Nick Gallo, Thunder Broadcasting.
Mark, I know you're still a couple days away, but what do you do in terms of starting your Houston scout, and what are maybe some focuses as you're working in some of the younger guys into kind of getting used to preparing for an opponent like this?
We haven't started much on them, to be honest with you. It's probably the last time we're going to have 3 straight days of practice for the season, if I had to guess. I haven't looked at the schedule that closely, but it's also the last time we have 2 straight days of practice until at least mid-January, I think. And so it's just such critical practice time in terms of just finishing off the foundation and getting everything solid before the start of the season that, we just don't want to really cut into that and water that down with too much about just a single opponent. I mean, before the next time we have 2 practices, we're going to play probably 10 or 12 opponents. So.
Anything else for Coach? All right, Paris Lawson, OKCThunder.com.
Yeah, Coach, I did want to ask you just a little bit about Houston. If you can think ahead just a little bit, what are some of the things that you think will be a good challenge for you guys, kind of with this first look at a regular season game for you guys?
Well, I guess it's just, the same challenges we had in the preseason, which is, how much can we learn from the experiences we've had as a team so far, and how much can we carry over kind of an identity and a style of play that we've tried to establish. And I think that we've had moments in the preseason where that's been really good on both ends of the floor. And then, obviously there's just the natural slippage of a 48-minute game, but, the best teams can maintain that level of play over the course of as many of the 48 minutes as possible. And that'll be our first challenge on Wednesday, and then our continuous challenge through all the games of the season.
Joe Masato, the Oklahoman.
Mark, what do you see as the next steps for Lou as he continues to develop his offensive game?
Yeah, I mean, offensively, I would just say, nothing really different from last year, just kind of layers on top of what he started off with last year. When you're out there as much as he was for us last season, and, we hope for him to be this season, understanding when to shoot, when to drive, when to pass, when you drive it, making those secondary reads of driving and kicking, which, I thought he did a good job of last season. And he's probably going to end up in a little bit more pick and roll as well, and just understanding the reads and the coverages that teams are going to play. The way we play on offense, it kind of involves all perimeter players and pick and rolls in some way, shape, or form. And so, he's at the starting point with those reads, and, he's going to have some choppy water there, but that's natural for anybody that's growing into a role. But, that's really the way we see him. We expect him to make a jump on that end of the floor.
And then just an unrelated question. Are you guys getting close to full health, or just where do you stand as far as, what practice has looked like availability wise?
Yeah, good availability. Ty Jerome was out today. But I think everybody else practiced, so, we're in a good spot.
Nick Crane, Forbes.
Hey, Coach. So Lou proved to be a pretty good individual defender last season. Have you seen him make strides, whether it's as a leader or as a mentor for some of the young guys in practice this season?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own style of leading, and Lou's an introvert, and so I think it's important that we sometimes separate out leadership from communication. Lou's not the most verbal person, but Lou's an unbelievable leader when it comes to readiness, professionalism, competitiveness, being ready to play every night, the consistency of that, the mental toughness that it takes to get yourself ready to play night after night in the NBA. And so I think that, he's not necessarily the personality that's going to speak up very often. And that's okay, because that's not the only way to lead. A guy like George Hill is extremely verbal. A guy like, Lou Dort, can lead through his actions. And so, as I've said before, the leader's the person doing the right thing, And Lou finds himself doing the right thing quite a bit, and it's put him in a position where he's built up a lot of respect among his teammates.
And back to Nick Gallo.
Mark, I know it's only been a few preseason games, but do you have a better sense of the type of defensive team that you'd like to be? One that's maybe more aggressive and tries to force turnovers, one that is maybe a little bit more conservative and staying home? Do you have a better gauge on what you'd like to be this season?
Yeah, I think, what you saw in the first few games was the base, on the ball, in our coverages. That's certainly what we've been working on. But we do have a athleticism and a feistiness to us that we'd like to tap into on the margins. When you say aggressive, over the course of 48 minutes in a game and how good the players are in the NBA, you can't get too crazy with your aggressiveness, or the ball will stay ahead of you and you'll end up in rotation all night. But there's small ways that you can get your physicality into the game and that you can get your energy into the game. And I thought the last Chicago game was really evidence of that. I thought we had a real presence on the ball. I thought we had a real presence, disrupting cuts and getting physicality into the game. And that's, I think, where we can turn it up a little bit.
Andrew Schlecht, Down to Dunk.
What do you think you learned about Aleksej Pokusevski in his 3 preseason games?
Well, he improved, and not only through the games, like he improved day to day. And that's what you want to see. At the end of the day, what he does on the court right now is irrelevant as it relates to, or as it compares to how well he internalizes those experiences and how much he can take the experiences and improve for the next time out. And he proved that he's got a process to do that. He's self-reflective. He takes ownership of his plays, and he wants to learn and he wants to grow. And that was the most impressive takeaway from him in the preseason, is that he's open-minded and he wants to get better. And he's willing to look at the tough plays. He's willing to look at the good plays, and he's going to sew that back into the next game. And I think from his first practice here until now, like I've said before, a player that's 18 years old, their growth curve is going to be a little bit steeper, and he's had a nice steep growth curve for us so far.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.